evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to Podium Esports' coverage of the 2021 Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series presented by AllStar Visuals, Oceanic Dirt Sim Events, and SpeedShop51.com. Tonight, we bring you coverage of Round 11 live from iRacing's virtual Kokomo Speedway and Kokomo, Indiana. I'm Justin Prince, alongside me are my colleagues Devin Henry and Jacob Hitz. Our producer, Zach Johnson, is behind the scenes down in the virtual production trailer. Thank you for tuning in for what should be an exciting race tonight. First things first, Devin, it's been a very competitive season so far, where different winners have started to pop up in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, every now and again, you'll see an extra name added on to that winner list. We saw Emerson Axum, David Haleman, Tyler Shield, but everyone is still trying to catch up and keep up with Cameron Merriman. Even when he doesn't win, say, last week at Charlotte or 3 weeks ago at Fairbury, he is always in the conversation. And so long as he is on the track, you need to make sure that you either keep him behind you or find a way to catch up to him.
Let's take a look at the schedule to be precise on that, shall we? Where so far Cameron Merriman has been someone that has been very dominant, as to be expected this season with his experience. 5 victories this season. But the Hyromania came away with a victory at the dirt track at Charlotte, a track that he's been known to be very strong at in the past. But tonight brings a whole different beast for the closing stages here. Jacob, this is now Kokomo, Lanier, Bristol, and then the 410 Classic coming up, a busy next few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, after this week, you're really getting into tracks that these guys should know like the back of their hand. Not saying that they don't know this track like the back of their hand, but I mean, Lanier and Bristol, those are 2 tracks that it feels like the Dirt Series are kind of built around, and that they're constantly going there and seem to be fan favorites as well. So I think, tonight is pretty much the last of the, we're just going to a dirt track. The next 2 weeks, it's the big ones that everybody's going to be talking about.
It's going to make things very interesting. Final practice is underway for tonight's action. Let's take this opportunity to look towards where we are on this big Earth. Specifically our Google Earth for tonight's action, shall we? Where tonight we're in Kokomo, Indiana, where this facility opened in 1947 and is under a third of a mile distance, just under half a kilometer, with its clay dirt surface, to be precise, 0.25 miles, 0.40 kilometers around this facility. 10 degrees down in the turns, 4 degrees down the straightaway, and this track is modeled originally, the one that's built at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, to be precise, after the track here at Kokomo. Today will also be in the late afternoon for race conditions, and remember, 35 green flag laps for a feature later on tonight, which brings us towards our race analysis. It's going to be very important to make sure you qualify well so you don't get stuck towards the bottom portion of tonight's mains, where it's been a tricky spot, Devin, to get your way through these heat races and stay out of the alphabet.
And miraculously, we had a couple drivers last week from the E-Main trek all the way up through the A-Main event, but at such a larger, wider track like Charlotte. When you come to Kokomo, this quarter-mile track, yeah, it has those wide corners that are about it, but those corners so easily get congested once you get to corner exit here. So you can pass all day long. Although you're going to get bumped, you're going to get banged. If you have to come from the back, you're going to have to go where other guys aren't, and sometimes they're just not enough real estate.
About a minute to go until practice is wrapped up. At the moment, Cameron Merriman has the quickest time at 10:115, followed by the Howell-maniac David Howellman with a 10:419. Landon Cardoza in third. Rylan Gray, Richie Preston, the current top 5 on the board. And Jacob, this is the type of racetrack that brings plenty of challenges because it's very tight, but it's also one that brings lots of intense action with potential lines at both the bottom and especially towards the top.
Yeah, as these guys kind of slide at the racetrack and get closer and closer to that wall, they're getting a little bit more in a danger zone. You see that kind of gap in the wall coming off of turn 2, down the back straightaway. That's going to be a trouble spot. It's kind of like the dirt version of Gateway, where you kind of ignore that's there until you get pushed wide, and then you could be in trouble and you could hit the wall at a bad angle. And I'm sure somebody will hit that wall and find that angle at some point throughout the night. And it's going to be something that these guys are going to have to keep their eyes on. But it is unique. We didn't, 2 weeks ago, at Lernerville. We had no outside wall whatsoever. Last week we got the return of the outside wall, but the track was super wide last week at the dirt track at Charlotte. This week the track isn't as wide, and you still have wall all the way around the racetrack, but there are a lot of bad angles on these walls compared to last week at the dirt track at Charlotte, that if you hit them hard enough, your day is definitely going to be done.
Qualifying, by the way, is now underway. 2 minutes to set 2 solo qualifying laps around the racetrack for tonight. We'll have to see how qualifying fares. Already 34-plus competitors have made their way to the racetrack for tonight with their 410 dirt sprint cars, which carry a lot of power here, Devin, which means we're going to be seeing times likely in that 10-second bracket if you want to be on the pole.
Oh, yes, you will. These cars whip around the small quarter mile at such intense speeds to the point where it is straight up difficult to be able to contain these cars through the corners. You have almost 900 horsepower on these machines, and it's just hard sometimes to keep it in your grasp. Right now, we are seeing times, Justin, right around the high 10s.
Vinny Sansone with the quickest time, now bumped forward by Landon Cardozo in the 114 machine. Felix Roy is in third position. Jonathan White fourth. Richie Preston rounds at the top 5 with plenty of the drivers yet to take times, including Austin Suttleman. In the mid-pack, he's been someone who's had to work through the alphabet several times. Of course, with experience in the World of Outlaws National Drink Sprint Cars World Championship Series on iRacing. Cameron Merriman, though, at the top of the board by 0.3 of a second. My goodness. And Jacob, that is blistering quick here.
Trying to figure out why it wouldn't let me talk. There we go. Yeah, Cameron Merriman, 0.3 faster than everybody else. Everybody right now sitting down on pit road probably just went pale. The fact that Cameron Merriman just had a lap 0.3 faster than everybody else. They're in trouble. And Merriman, that 10.439, he set that in 1 lap. Everybody else did 2 laps here in qualifying. He only did 1. And he's already 0.3 faster than everybody else. Look out.
Look out indeed, because it's time for heat race number 1, and boy, oh boy, is this one going to be fairly stacked up in this one. Your best driver in qualifying, as mentioned, was Cameron Merriman. He set the best time overall. He'll start alongside Austin Suttleman in heat number 1. Jonathan White will start in third position. Jacob Denny in fourth, with Sean Brown and Jimmy Barr rounding out your top 6. John Helms, Lane Stevens, Eric Wilkie round out the drivers in heat number 1. Again, these drivers will have 10 laps. Top 2 advance directly to the feature. The rest go through the alphabet, which drivers will then have the ability to try and battle through 12 laps. Or if you make it to the E main, you have to be able to make it to the top 4 to move on to the D main. Then you have to make it to the top 4 to move on to the C main, and so forth until the top 8 move on to the feature. Again, that is all subject to change based on car count. Keep in mind, 2 of the heats tonight are in that ballpark for this evening, so keep that in mind for tonight. In other words, the pressure is on to perform here, Devin. First things first, your keys to having a successful heat in this series.
You got to find the right line here. The moisture is still on the track. That means that this track's going to have grip just about all the way around for the most part. It is slicked off just slightly right now, but if you can get that angle into turn 1, almost clip that tire right in the center of the corner, and ride that momentum off a corner exit, it makes this quarter mile feel like an 1/8 mile at that point. If you can hit your angles here in these heat races, you're going to be just fine. The difficult with hitting your angles, though, Justin, at this track, is not hitting another car at the same time.
Yes, indeed. And keep in mind, no cautions during the heat races. So in other words, you need to keep yourself clean here, Jacob, and that's been one of the main things. It's been attrition with these types of heats. If you get yourself caught in trouble, you're going to have to go to that alphabet, which could be even bigger.
Well, and we saw it last week, too, where just about every single heat, we had guys bouncing off each other, flipping down the straightaway, flipping through the corners. I think we're going to see that tonight in the alphabet soup as well. You know, it's just part of dirt track, short track racing. There's not a lot of room for these guys. If there's a mistake, you're probably going to get caught up in it.
These drivers are all set to go. Cameron Merriman in control of the field. 10 laps up on the board. Green flag is out. We're underway for heat racing from Kokomo. And Merriman trying to wheel the bottom of the racetrack, slides his way up to the top groove. Austin Settleman with the crossover. He takes over the race lead to start things off. Merriman, though, keeping up the pressure.
Almost tapping wheels, and Merriman ripping around that lower side. Look at the gap that he gets coming off of turn 2. Semmelman, though, wants to cross him over. Can't quite get there, though. Merriman now is hoping to sail away.
Both of them have moved up to the cushion. In fact, now with Jacob Denny with the great start here. Jacob, as he's now trying to wheel his way behind the Tony Stewart racing machine.
Just had a big crash way in the back. It's all settled now, but Eric Wilkie went on one wild ride. He got up in the air down in turn number 1. John Helms also got a piece of it, and Helms has since parked the car, and Wilkie's just trying to limp it to pit road as he gets lapped. But right now, Merriman, he is a man on a mission, and really it's just a battle from Semmelman on back.
Merriman is flying right now. Last time by, though, Settleman was a little tiny bit quicker, but it's still a half a second distance. The focus for Settleman. Trying to defend, moves to the bottom to try and defend with 4 to go back up top.
Well, Jacob Denny better become a man on a mission right now because he's on one spot looking in. Still on the outside.
Settleman just wrecked.
Austin Settleman up into the wall. He is now out of contention and once again will have to go through the alphabet. Unfortunate for Settleman, but with 2 laps to go, it's Merriman and Denny now in the transfer spots.
Wow, I didn't expect that. First I thought that was just like connection going wonky there for Austin Semmelman. I'm not sure what happened. There wasn't any contact between him and Danny. I think he just drove it up into the outside wall. But either way, coming to the checkers, Cameron Merriman's going to win the first heat. Jacob Denny in second. They'll move on to the feature, and everybody else is going swimming through some soup tonight.
Those drivers, Jonathan White, Sean Brown, who went bumper to bumper and tire to tire, I should say, with Lane Stevens at the checker flag. Jimmy Barr, Eric Wilkie made it 2 laps down with the damaged car. Austin Settleman 4 laps down in 8. Then John Helms rounded out the top drivers for heat number 1. That brings us to heat number 2 on the action. Interboline will start in first with Landon Cardoza, looking to try and show what he can do tonight in his machine. Richie Preston will start in third, Peyton Grease in fourth. Then you have Jeffrey Stewart in fifth. Jackson Gray starts in sixth. Caden Folkerts, Michael Heilman, Aiden Gonzalez, the 9 drivers in this respective heat. And now, as the drivers get ready for this respective heat, I'd like to remind you that this heat is presented by Speed Shop 51. Speed Shop 51 is an iRacing setup shop which offers individual setup packs, coaching, custom designs, and much more. Their main goal is to help improve the skill level of all competitors across the iRacing platform. Speed Shop 51 was established in December 2020 by Clayton Tilley. For more information, you can check out our website at .speedshop.51.com or follow them at Facebook and Instagram today. A bit of collisions there as that was going on before we take the green flag. Now we are flying and now we're off and away. A clean start compared to the not as clean pace lap, and already they're 3 wide for the transfer spot. Richie Preston slide chops his way up as they collide and wreck behind.
Man, Cardoza almost got turned on the initial start before he can complete a lap. He's the last car on the track. Peyton Grimes is now able to move into P2, the final transfer spot.
And an interesting start to this one, as Grimes indeed is holding on to that bubble position for now is the key word. It's the question though, how will the elbows up SimSport machine try and respond? He responds by going to the bottom as up on the top. Grimes hits the wall, loses the spot, goes for the slight jump back.
Ooh, man, that was tight off of 4. Preston had to lift a little bit there so he didn't wind up eating some concrete on the outside. And I tell you what, Landon Cardoza got bullied in that first lap. He went from second all the way to the back. He's going to have a long way to go here tonight because of that opening lap, as somebody was just trying to cut the corner. Aiden Gonzalez was way down there in the grass.
Well, Cardoza just went around again, so he has a long heat race only halfway through.
And we're now at 4 laps to go with 3 drivers covered under a blanket of 1.4 seconds and growing. Preston trying to keep up still, but Berlin on a charge. They're already in the mix potentially to get to lap traffic for the white flag laps. We're coming up to 2 to go.
Berlin leading the way. Grimes at that last transfer spot. Preston, though, starting to get out of reach.
Grice now goes for the slide for the race lead. Preston has fallen back by more than a second. White flag is up on the stand. Final lap for heat number 2. And Adrian Berlin in the Berlin Racing Machine has been very impressive in this series. Looking to move on to another feature. Here we go. Grice hits the tire on the inside, nearly spins it around. He'll move on either way. Berlin takes the checkered. They move on directly to the feature race. Richie Preston, Jeffrey Stewart, Jackson Gray, Landon Cardoza, Bokerts, Gonzalez, Michael Heilman will have to go to the alphabet soup. That's a look at those drivers as now we get ready for heat number 3. And boy, oh boy, another stacked one coming up here as these drivers get ready for several pro contenders and several of the favorites for tonight, including David Heilman. He'll start on the inside of row 1 alongside Vinny Sansone in the D1RT Racing Machine. Eddie Hartley's been very quick in the series. Will start third alongside the youngster Rylan Gray. Damian Fall will start in 5th position. John Fall will start at 6th. Alex Bergeron scheduled to start 7th. James Richard and Jonathan Mulwarter will start in 9th. Of note, Alex Bergeron, it appears, may not make it to the start for this one. And now the driver's getting all set to go. Your thoughts so far, Devin, and what's been a very quick night of heat action so far?
I'm really surprised how everyone has been able to kind of use multiple parts of the track. We saw in that first heat race, everyone kind of migrated to the top, but still at the end of heat race number 2, everyone was still trying to hit that tire at the bottom of the track. So all depends on the setup, but it's good to see that a lot of different lines are working, just like we see at the real Kokomo.
Indeed, we'll see how things play out in this respective heat. By the way, can confirm 4 heat races for tonight's action as heat number 3 is set to go here. 10 laps back on the board. The Howlemaniac off and away. Slick Sim Sport with a slick start and already trying to move to the middle line. Vinny Sansone side by side as Eddie Hartley makes a bit of contact with Sansone. Sansone able to clear off though as Eddie Hartley has a bit of a bobble off of the turn 4.
And Rylan Gray in P4 had to check on up, trying to fight back to the inside for that 3rd position. It's still looking outside those 2 transfer spots, though. The top 2 trying to go away as Hartley and Gray are still wheel to wheel.
An impressive start, and it seems like with the amount of slick starting to build up around this racetrack, Jacob, that a lot of the drivers are getting more and more comfortable now riding that bottom.
Well, they're going to have to get used to this just because, you know, right now we only have 4 heats, as you mentioned, so the track isn't going to get as worn out as it normally would before we move on to the alphabet soup. By the time we get to the B main, this track is going to be very, very worn compared to what it's going to be like at the end of heat 4. So for these guys right now, they may think the track is in rough shape. Well, if you're in the B main, you're going to find out what a really rough racetrack feels like.
Absolutely, and right now these drivers are absolutely wheeling it around this circuit under 4 laps to go. Howlemaniac, by the way, is pulled away by almost 2.5 seconds over the battle for the bubble spot. Eddie Hartley has kept the pressure up on Sansone. Rylan Gray is continuing to rip the lip, trying to dive into the inside, taking away 3rd.
Oh, Gray did not look comfortable for a lot of laps there. Ripped the lip on the outside in 1 and 2. Finally found some momentum. Almost getting blocked on the outside. They bang rear wheels, but now Gray looking ahead, looking for that final transfer spot to the A main.
Final lap for heat number 3 as Sansone trying to just run the middle defensively. Gray going for one more send to the bottom of the racetrack. Heilman holds on while Sansone will get the final bubble spot. Gray, Hartley, Warder, Damian Fall, James Richard, John Fall will have to go to the alphabet soup as the Howlemaniac gets to celebrate once more. Heat 4 is now making its way to the racetrack, and this one's also going to be an intriguing one with several drivers looking to make names for themselves, with several drivers who have shown speed throughout the season, starting towards the back after rough qualifying performances. For heat number 4, it's Garrett Halsey on the pole. Felix Roy will start in 2nd, with Eddie Williams Jr. and Hayden Harvey in 4th. Curtis Merriman will start in 5th, with Austin Griffey in 6th position. Jeremy St. Louis will start in 7th. Lee Donkus will start in 8th. J.P. Schroeder Schreider, I should rather say, in 9th position. Tonight's action is presented by Oceanic Dirt Sim Events. The Australian iRacing League specializes in dirt events. For more information, visit Oceanic_dirt_sim_events on Instagram today. One final heat race, and then we get ourselves to the alphabet soup. We see how things fare out for tonight's action. And Garrett Halsey will be the driver in control of the field in the Thub machine. We'll see how he plays things out. Roy's also been very quick in this series. Keep an eye as well on that middle of the pack. Green flag is out, off and away for the final heat race of the night. Williams Jr. already a cork in the bottom on the bottom line. Hayden Harvey got boxed in for a second as the top two break away.
Harvey was almost a very detrimental middle of an accordion as now he looks to throw the slide job on Ernie Williams Jr. Williams squares him back up, wheel to wheel, and they're banging off the rear bumper as well. Ernie Williams Jr. moves up to P3.
All of this is while Roy now moves his way to the top line, crosses the way to the middle. Oh, and they're crashing just behind indeed. That's Hayden Harvey.
Yeah, 3rd and 4th. Harvey just, when they were coming up off of turn number 2, Harvey tried to throw the slide in there, threw it in a little too much, was not clear. He got run over by Ernie Williams Jr. He went up and over, and it really cost Ernie Williams everything because he fell all the way back to 7th now, but not a good ride for Hayden Harvey either.
Look who's in that 3rd position already, though, Devin. That one machine who's been lightning quick in this series all year.
Yeah, Jeremy St. Louis comes up through the field fast. He started this race in 7th, now to P3. Still looking right on that rear bumper. Trying to move around that tail tank for the final transfer spot.
Both of them hit the wall, in fact, though, at the top line in turn 2. Back up to the top in turn 3. All while Halsey's able to dive in the corner. Back to the wall goes Roy. The Canadians now try and duke it out, coming to 2 laps to go. Defensive lines now being played. Here comes St. Louis Jones to the bottom with the slide job. Trying to complete the move, does. And into the wall he goes.
And he caught the wall again there in turn 1. He's going to have 2 more shots here. He's got a great shot here off of 2 to get to the outside of Roy. Roy's going to send it on the bottom. And oh, St. Louis was nice. He lifted for him last lap.
Final lap as Halsey is pulled away by almost 2 seconds. Going to come down to the final corner. St. Louis with the squeeze. Roy with the slide. Halsey wins while St. Louis moves on just by a couple of car lengths. Just under 1/10 of a second the difference. And Roy will have to go to the alphabet. Austin Griffey, Curtis Merriman, Lee Donkus, Ernie Williams Jr. among the drivers who will also have to go and follow suit into the mains. Schreider will also go into that route with Hayden Harvey. Did manage to take the checker flag, but finished in 9th position. That'll bring us into the D main, as with the car count, no E main for this evening's action. Let's take a look at how they'll start with Eric Wilkie, who was involved in an incident early on in the first heat race of the night. Going to be starting on the pole. Kanan Folkers will start in 2nd. Then it's Jordan Mawarner. Then it is Eddie Williams Jr., Austin Settleman, then Aiden Gonzalez, John Fall, JP Schreider, and then John Helms, Michael Heilman, Alex Bergeron scheduled to start 11th, Hayden Harvey in 12th position. That's look top to bottom at your running order. Tonight's action presented by AllStar Visuals, your home for high-quality graphic design and outstanding customer service. If you're looking for a new racing logo or hero cards, look no further. AllStar Visuals has you covered. For more information, visit facebook.com/AllStar Visuals today. A blistering quick night leads into 12 laps. Top 4 advance directly to the C main. In our words, no pressure, and several heavy performance here is expected here tonight. Keep in mind, 3 drivers did not take the green flag here, Devin.
So that's going to stack these guys up a little bit more, and we know that Ernie Williams Jr., Austin Semmelman, they can move up through the pack here and transfer on. Top 4 move on to the C main tonight. They'll tag the back of that race and try to get to the B later on.
See how things play out with Wilkie in control of the field. Has already nearly a bit of contact as they go to the restart zone. Off and away we go.
They are already wrecking. Folkers got pushed way wide. Did a great job of saving it, but he went from 2nd to last in a corner.
Already a bunch of shoving, but Austin Settleman has already moved his way to third. Wilkie nearly over-rotated from the lead as Williams Jr. tries to run the top. This is all turning out to be now 40 wide, just about battling for the bubble positions. Williams Jr. gets a bit of contact from Hayden Harvey with the big run.
Harvey squeezed in the middle of 4 wide to take away the second position. Austin Semmelman just watching right behind him in angst going, what do you mean you just did that? Now Semmelman stuck back in the 4th position. The final transfer spot as Williams bangs it up on the wall. Monitor, though, is right behind them, stalking for that final transfer.
Yes, indeed, and it's continuing to stay busy as Williams Jr. spins around. Contact in the middle of turns 1 and 2. They're back rolling as that's going to change things up a little bit for your battle for the transfer positions, because now it is Michael Heilman who is now in the 4th position last time by.
And that's going to put Schreiderer in the 5th spot. Molitor and Williams are the 2 that got involved in that little incident there. That was 4th and 5th at the time.
And Schroeder is also around, just about saved it now in 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the battle for the race lead continues to heat up. Hayden Harvey rips the top, move him to the point with Wilkie being shuffled to 2nd. Austin Settleman looking to try and follow suit fairly soon with 3 to go.
Wilkie looks in trouble. That car is not set up for how that bond has worn off now. It's starting to really get slick on the bottom, and he just does not have that momentum to carry through the corner to beat these guys on the outside. Semmelman's going to be on this tail tank in no time.
Now coming up to the closing stages, as you see Hayden Harvey, and what's been an impressive drive. Remember, he ended up getting involved in an incident in the Vanderpool Racing Machine in his respective heat after being in position to battle for the bubble spots, and now he'll come up to the white flag to try and move on to the C main. Leading Austin Settleman, Michael Heilman has passed by Eric Wilkie. Those drivers all in comfortable positions. The next driver 7 seconds back of your race leader, 5 seconds to 4th. Checker flag waves. Hayden Harvey wins the D main, followed by Austin Settleman, Michael Heilman, Eric Wilkie. JP Schreider is now done for the night. McWhorter, Ernie Williams Jr., John Vault, Caden Folkerts among the drivers who are now done for the evening. Aiden Gonzalez, John Helms, Alex Bergeron did not take the green flag in the D main. That brings us to the C main, where now 4 advance directly to the B main. The rest finish off their evenings. Lane Stevens will start from the pole tonight in the C main. Jackson Gray. Then you have Damian Fall with Curtis Merriman, Jimmy Barr, Landon Cardoza, James Richard, Lee Duckus, Hayden Harvey, Austin Settleman, Michael Heilman, Eric Wilkie, the 12 drivers who will take the green flag here.
And Justin, this is where these guys are going to have to start getting creative, because the track at first was wore off on the straightaways, and that makes it so difficult just to set these cars up for the corner because it's hard to get the car really composed. But now the top has a little bit of wear under all those marbles. The inside's starting to slick off. If you're not set up correctly for just how slick that inside is, you're in for a heap of trouble like Eric Wilkie did. Hopefully he made some adjustments there during that 60 seconds. But this is where you got to get creative and find that fresh moisture on the track to get yourself around this small Kokomo track.
Yeah, I'm looking around at the racetrack. You can see some of the shine that's built up with some of the slick and moisture where some of the drivers potentially utilize that. That middle groove has also become a very solid defensive line for a couple competitors. See how things play out here as we're all set to go for this start. It'll be Lane Stevens in control of the field this time. Green flag is out, off and away. Already 3-4 wide coming into the corner. One massive slide coming from James Richard, and all of a sudden he's up to 2nd.
We're still hanging out 4 wide across the field, bumping and banging, almost going around. Jackson Gray sliding back in the order, but James Richard already moved up to P1, battling with Lane Stevens. Push back, man, these guys are everywhere.
Oh, they're wrecking. Right here in front straightaway, Hayden Harvey around. Got one upside down, I think. That's Damian Paul. that didn't last very long.
And Jackson Gray was also involved. He's already done after that massive sin. Hayden Harvey has been able to get his car back rolling, but he's already lost a lap, and he's right in the heart of the main pack. Curtis Merriman's trying to deal with damage, although Austin Settleman is trying to wheel it on the bottom of the racetrack in this battle going on for second. Jimmy Barr is holding on to fourth for the time being.
Richard has slid all the way back, just got booted another spot behind. He at one point was your leader, now back in 7th position.
James Richard now done for the night. He's been parked with that bit of contact he just made in the battle going on
we got
for
him more
position.
trouble. Harvey again. And this one's a lot worse. That's kind of like what happened with Semmelman earlier. Wow.
Right in the midst of our lead pack, we stay keeping on going though, as the drivers in the bubble spots are safe for the time being. 5 laps to go this time by. It's Stevens, Merriman, Sullivan, Barr in the top 4. It's about a 1 second difference between Barr and Wilkie though.
Oh man, and there goes, who is that? That's Heilman that gets turned around front straightaway. Him and Wilkie made contact. Wow.
Yes, indeed. Michael Heilman is now off the racetrack. His contention days are done for the night. An intriguing race so far. And now it only comes down to 2 more laps to see who moves on. Jimmy Barr is still in 4th position. Austin Sittleman has moved up to 2nd position meanwhile, as Curtis Merriman tries to battle around, but coming to the white flag this time by in the C main, and what's been a busy one. Nutrition expected to be a big one and has been a big part of this C main. Lane Stevens though will hold on and win by 0.3 of a second over Austin Sittleman. Curtis Merriman and Jimmy Barr move on to the B main. The rest of the drivers done for the evening include Wilkie, Cardoza, Donkus, Michael Hallman, James Richard, Hayden Harvey, and the rest of the grouping. It's been a busy night so far, and we've been flying through the cards so far as we make our way to the B main. And the good news for our competitors, well, with the reduction of 2 heats, all the drivers get the chance to move on. That means the positions are going to be very valuable for the second half of this field. Jonathan White will get the chance to try and start up front with Richie Preston, Rylan Gray. Felix Roy will start at 4th. Sean Brown, Jeffrey Stewart in 6th position. Then it's Eddie Hartley, Austin Griffey. Then your drivers from the C main: Lane Stevens, Austin Sittleman, Curtis Merriman, Jimmy Barr. A bit of surprise for some of these drivers, but it still puts on the pressure to say, okay, if you want to start in a decent, solid starting position, potentially just inside the top 10, Devin, you still need to perform.
I mean, this is basically like your second order of qualifying, right? Wherever you finish in this race is where you start behind your top 8 qualifiers from the heat race. So, I mean, finishing first in this race is the difference between starting up in P9 or starting all the way back around 20th. So there's a lot at stake here for every single driver.
By the way, let's look at our track conditions as the instant time is just passed by 9 p.m. on May 19th, 2021. Very cool track conditions have stayed stagnant throughout this entire run. Air temp is only at 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds currently gusting at 4 miles an hour, has been gusting a little bit up there, here and there to the southeast. Green flag is out. We're underway for the B main. Jonathan White with a good launch on the bottom of the racetrack. But Richie Preston wants the lead and wants it fast. Goes for the slide to the bottom of the racetrack and takes away the lead after 1 lap.
Rylan Gray looking to the inside. He's going to get a 2-for-1 here off of turn number 2. Again, here comes Richie Preston back on the inside.
Trading back and forth for the race lead. Preston currently running top. Rylan Gray running middle. Now slides to the top. Preston trades back. Bit of contact that time with Roy. They go side by side. It's the Hornet's Nest starting to bump and bang a little bit. They were 5 wide as they start to crash to the flag stand.
Yeah, that's big. Sean Brown in it. Austin Griffey got a piece of it. Jeffrey Stewart. They all just kind of came together, and one car bounced off of another, and then they all just kind of ping-ponged down the front straightaway into turn 1. But other than that, that was the cleanest start to a main that we've had all night long.
Things are getting entertaining, though, up at the front because Gray is holding on to the point for now. Richie Preston in second. Right now, both of those drivers have pulled away by more than a second, and they are trading blows at the halfway mark, trading different lines as well. The elbows up SimSport machine, definitely with the elbows out.
And Indiana's baddest bull ring, they're putting on a show. This is the battle for 8th and 9th in the A main. Basically, is a little bit out of shape. Is Jonathan White able to put it back together and compose himself? But he's got a hound of cars up behind him.
And keep in mind, everyone makes the show. This is about track position for these competitors for the main for tonight. So, for some of these drivers, that has to be kept in mind, including for drivers like Lane Stevens, who are among the drivers who had to make their way to the Alphabet. Among the highest up runners from the Alphabet, Austin Settleman, with 3 to go, is already inside the top 5.
Yeah, he's coming. He's trying to get it underneath. Well, he just passed Eddie Hartley because Hartley bounced off the wall there in 4. Selman trying to reel in Felix Roy and maybe get a podium out of the B main here. We're gonna have to wait and see. But right now, Rylan Gray, he is pretty much safe out in front. White flag.
White flag is out. One car flies up in front of Jeffrey Stewart. Not a matter for Gray, though. He'll take the checkered either way to win the B main. Richie Preston, Felix Roy, Austin Settleman, Eddie Hartley, your top 5 with Austin Griffey, Sean Brown, Jonathan White, Lane Stevens, Curtis Merriman, your top 10. Barr and Stewart will be the last of the drivers and how they'll line up for tonight's feature event. An intriguing night so far here, Devin. Your thoughts so far?
Well, these guys have been racing like every lap is the last lap of the King's Royal, and the real world is how these guys have been intensity-wise, but no one has any little bit of chill, which a Kokomo might come back and bite you. Apparently, the biggest key to getting to BC Victory Lane tonight here in the virtual world is just going to be having the minimal amount of incident points and just don't touch anyone. No one touch me. I'm not going to touch you. Everyone stay away from me tonight.
We'll see how true those points ring when we come back. It'll be feature race time. 35 laps on the docket. You're watching Podium Esports for coverage of the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series from Kokomo. Final practice underway on Podium Esports for the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series at the virtual Kokomo Speedway. Justin Prince, Devin Henry, along with you with Jacob Hitz, with Zach Johnson in the production trailer for tonight's action. Been a busy night so far. Jacob, your thoughts now as these drivers working this racetrack for tonight's feature race.
Well, we were talking during the break about, you know, we may be done by 10 o'clock Eastern here, depending on cautions. And then Devin replied, "Don't jinx it." Last couple of weeks, we've been, you know, kind of sloppy during the heats and during the alphabet soup and everything, and then we hit the feature. And sometimes we get a green flag run, and then caution. Other times, you know, we're kind of light on cautions like last week. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think if we're able to fly through this in a hurry, these guys are going to be able to put on one heck of a show for us. That's for sure.
It's going to be an intriguing show again. 35 green flag laps is the key word. Green flag laps for tonight here at Kokomo Speedway. In-sim time will be just past 10:30 on May 19, 2021 for our competitors under the lights For these drivers tonight, it's the question, though, of who will come away with the top prize of the evening. $100 for your race winner, $50 for second, $25 for third. It's time to find out how those drivers will line up under the lights here tonight. And it's been Cameron Merriman who has become very rich in this series so far with a dominant stretch, including 5 total victories this season. He'll start from the pole tonight. And in Berlin will start in second with the Hylomaniac. In third position, David Heilman with Garrett Halsey in fourth. Jacob Denny will start in fifth with Peyton Greaves rounding out your top 6, Devin.
Moving on up, Vinny Sansone will start inside of row number 4 with Jeremy St. Louis, who had a great round here in his few races today. Rylan Gray starts off inside of row number 5 alongside Richie Preston. Austin Selman starting off inside of row 6 alongside Felix Groy, your top 12.
Then,
and I'm trying to make sure I have everything pulled up right here. 13th, right? Yes. Eddie Hartley from the 13th spot. Austin Griffey in 14th. Sean Brown in 15th. Lane Stevens 16th. Jonathan White 17th. Curtis Merriman 18th. And then it's Jimmy Barr, Jeffrey Stewart rounding out the top 20 that are in the feature.
as these drivers now work their way around the racetrack, who are your picks? Devin first.
Oh, man. I'm going to take the worst odds if I actually want to make money. Cameron Merriman from the pole. I mean, I might only make $5 on a $100 bet on that, but I'll take it.
Jacob?
Well, he took my pick, so I'm gonna have to go with David Heilman. He goes back to back. He wins tonight.
Track is cooling down, by the way. We just seen in sim time, 10:36 p.m. as we are underway for feature racing from Kokomo. Great start for Cameron Merriman as David Heilman battles for second quickly. Berlin moves around and the caution is out.
Big wreck on the back straightaway. We got guys popcorning all over the place. Jeremy St. Louis's junk. I think there are more involved in that, but St. Louis is the first one that I saw. He towed back to pit road here, so that thing is mega junk. He bounced off a couple of other guys down the back straightaway.
You can see the worst of it down that back straightaway. At least 2 or 3 drivers flipping upside down. But all of that really started when St. Louis over-rotated a little bit and bottled everybody up in the middle of the corner.
And he gets wiped out. I believe that's Felix Roy down the bottom, and that 8 car that gets turned back up the racetrack comes back up into Jeremy St. Louis, and it's on.
Significant damage to the 1. He is among the drivers who have already made their way off the circuit. The iRacing pace truck, meanwhile, makes its way around said circuit for the 1 to go. We'll try this again with 34 to go. Merriman, Berlin, David Heilman, Halsey, Denny, and then Grimes. It is in the 92 and 6. Sansone, Gray, Preston, your top 10. Here we go. Green flag, lockstep for the top 3.
Almost banging bumpers. Merriman pioneering that inside lane with this fresh track surface. Everyone kind of wanting to get that real estate. We'll see how long it lasts. When will drivers have to be forced up towards the top of this track?
Cameron Merriman preferring the bottom, though, and several of the pro contenders doing so as well. David Heilman up to second, though. Launching his way with the rocket ships on the side of his race car to the front. Jacob Denny is the only driver inside the top 10 preferring the lip so far along that cushion. He's now even moved to the middle of the racetrack, Jacob.
Yeah, these guys are kind of just ignoring the outside line, and everybody's diving straight to the bottom of the racetrack. But I tell you what, Jacob Denny pulled the middle high line through 1 and 2, and he was a rocket on corner exit. He's making that topside roll.
Lane Stevens, by the way, the second DNF already of this feature race. We're already to 29 to go this time. By Merriman leads by about 9/10 of a second. Garrett Halsey trying to defend Jacob Denny. Meanwhile, Grimes trying to defend Vinny Sansone. A mix of several batters starting to form up in the heart of the pack, as right now the separation for first to ninth already approaching 5 seconds.
Ooh, round trouble, Byerlin! Byerlin got put up into the wall by Halsey there for 3rd place. I for sure thought Byerlin was going to completely go over, but that car was able to land back on its wheels and was able to keep it going without losing too much time. Only lost 2 spots.
And I'm surprised that it's difficult to keep the suspension hooked up on this thing when you hit the wall like that.
Here's the thing though, Devin, look at this lap traffic ahead. It is the first big time these race leaders have dealt with traffic this thick.
I mean, they're almost 3-4 wide ahead of him, battling for the 20th position. This is where if you're Cameron Merriman, you have to be slow and just pick your spots carefully. That's going to allow a lot of guys to catch up to you just like that. Woo!
And here comes David Heilman. He's got the fishing pole out. Merriman's made already 2-3 mistakes in this lap traffic, and Heilman's just been able to slice through it like a hot knife through butter. He's coming.
It's reeling him in slowly but surely right now. 7/10 now the gap as the top line is cleared out for the race leaders. They have ditched Halsey. Halsey currently holding on to the final money position. Contact for Heilman with the lap traffic though. And it was Curtis Merriman he ended up hitting.
That mixed things up a little bit. 21 laps to go, and that will help out Cameron Merriman by a lump sum. But these top two, they've checked out. Even Garrett Halsey is having a hard time reeling in the tail end of this lap traffic.
Yeah, right now, Curtis Merriman among the drivers letting by the leaders now go as that David Heilman has lost at least a second as a result of the contact. By the way, remember Austin Suttleman, who had to work his way through the alphabet? He's up to 4th. And he is closing into the money paying positions.
Yeah, he is flying right now. He is the second fastest guy on the racetrack other than David Heilman. So, I tell you what, Selman may have a good shot here. It earned some cash after getting involved in a lot of incidents tonight. Out of his own making, just being wrong place, wrong time.
And he's trying to close up to Garrett Halsey. It's just a matter of getting all through this traffic very thick. Cameron Merriman has grown his advantage to more than 2 seconds, by the way. The gap starting to shrink because Curtis Merriman has now hit the wall right in front of Austin Suttleman. He slices it 3 wide, but the traffic, only one car separates him and Halsey for 3rd spot with under 15 to go. As to the infield goes Curtis Merriman.
And how about this, Justin? We only have 8 cars remaining on the lead lap. The pace that Merriman is setting right now is berserk.
It's been really impressive what he's been able to do as the years have gone on, especially in recent years. Keep in mind, won in the iRacing World of Outlaws Not Your Drink Sprint Cars World Championship Series at Weed Sport, then has gone on this tear. A lot of momentum from Cameron Merriman. He was showing great speed at the end of that season. He's carried that over to here now. Coming up to 10 laps to go. Just needs to keep it clean with a gap still of 1.8 seconds over the Hyromaniac as he works his way up the top line.
Tell you what, and if Cameron Merriman wins this race, he will be tied with Alex Bergeron for the most wins in the series all time at 7. So he's only very good. And, you know, Alex Bergeron, he's not even here tonight. Things are looking good for Cameron Merriman to at least tie Bergeron. Well, caution, hold that thought.
Well, that changes everything as the iRacing pace truck comes out. And we're under yellow, approaching about 7 green flag laps to go. This is going to be interesting as Austin Griffey has claimed responsibility for the caution flag.
I was going to say, I have no idea what on earth this is for. But let's see. Looks like he just... There's still green here, green here.
I believe Austin Griffey may have over-rotated here, possibly. The 57.
Oh, yeah, he just spun it out on his own, but there was nobody around him, too. That was a really weird caution compared to everything else that we've seen tonight. I'm surprised it threw it for that.
Here's the thing, though. When it comes to the system here on iRacing, if you over-rotate by a certain degree at some of these racetracks, with a car around you, it's enough to trigger the caution flag. There was somebody on the top line closing in towards that, but now that changes everything because it re-racks them and stacks them. About 8 to go. Green flag this time by Merriman. Now has to play defense.
Heilman behind him, Halsey, Semmelman, Denny, your top 5 here. And how about Merriman already starting to gap this field just in the slightest? Heilman able to reel in that rear bumper, though. He's still intact here.
Halsey has slammed the wall. Meanwhile, Austin Suttleman wants to try and get himself in the money paying position. So does Jacob Denny. They fight hard with 6 laps to go now as they all rip the top line. The question is, who will try and go for the slider first? Bit of a squeeze now for Suttleman as he tries to play defense.
Yeah, Denny's been all over him. Hellman couldn't get by Halsey because Halsey bounced it off the wall so much. But I tell you what, looking up front, Heilman and Merriman are running identical lap times, and they have not gotten more than 2 car lengths apart from each other. This thing's not done yet. 4 to go.
Let's take a look at the caution.
Big wreck front stretch. Oh, that's Jacob Denny. He's upside down.
And that was from inside the top 10. Contact with Berlin, then ends up launching off the ground at the flag stand. And that brings us to a couple lap shootout to decide it.
And then Austin Griffey spun it back behind him for good measure. I think he was just trying to woe up since the caution came out. But that's heartbreaking for Jacob Denny. Inside the top 5 all night long. Just one mistake's all it takes. And that's going to wind up with him on the hook and him out of a paying position for tonight.
See just how twice they are coming off of 4 here.
Be around this upcoming time by, I believe, here, where you see Berlin trying to dive to the inside, Devin, and then they end up just colliding on the corner exit right here.
Denny wanted to hold on to that gas, thought maybe he could shoot the gap between the car and the wall, and there is no gap there. It closes so quickly here at Kokomo.
Unfortunate green. Yes, indeed, we are. Fortunate situation for those drivers. But now it sets up a 3-lap dash. Cameron Merriman with a great restart, off and away. Now it's the matter of can he hold on over the Hywomaniac. A bit of contact on the bottom line. Austin Suttleman holds on to 4th. He lines back up along the cushion. 2 to go. Who will take it as Heilman now shifts lines. He goes to the middle. Side by side as Merriman hits the wall.
That just kicked the door down for David Heilman. He might go back-to-back. White flag last lap.
Final lap from Kokomo. Heilman now goes on the defensive mode. Cameron Merriman needs to go for the slide. He elects to go to the top. Heilman goes to the bottom. Who will take it at the line? It'll be the Hywomaniac who wins it at Kokomo. Merriman second, and Garrett Halsey holds on by 4/10 for the final money paying position.
Just want to say, that was my pick.
And immediately to the celebrations over in victory lane goes the Hywomaniac. Back to back, he is going to be very pumped up based on past track records, to say the very least, about this one.
And that saves the record for Alex Bergeron. He doesn't have to share that top spot with anybody. Merriman's still with 6 wins in the series.
And that record lives for another round in this one. David Heilman will take the checker flag by just above 1/10 of a second over Cameron Merriman after a late race pass. Garrett Halsey rounds out the top 3 with Austin Suttleman, and in Berlin, Vinny Sansone, Felix Roy, Peyton Grice, Eddie Hartley, and Jeffrey Stewart rounding out the top 10. Only 6 drivers finished on the lead lap, Devin.
Jimmy Barr brings it home in 11th. Jacob Denny has to sell for 12th. Austin Griffey in 13th position, followed by Richie Preston. Curtis Merriman comes home in 15th. Jonathan White, P16. Sean Brown finishes in 17th with Rylan Gray, Lane Stevens, and Jeremy St. Louis rounding out your 20-car field here at Kokomo.
And what an impressive run tonight from the Hywomaniac to close in and make the move in the middle line. He ends up taking the checker flag here in this one. I believe he's now standing by as well as the celebration now begins for David Heilman to be able to take home the checker flag for another round. David, first of all, how are you feeling tonight after making a late race pass to win this one?
The pass itself surprised me a little bit. I wasn't really ready for it. I was just going down there to kind of test to see how good it was, to see if I could set something else up. But yeah, I just looked back. He just got into the wall a little bit at the wrong time, and yeah, all of a sudden I just saw him in my mirror, and I was like, okay, well, now let's not throw this away ourselves. And kind of at the game, I was like, well, do I want to run the top again next time around? Which I don't know if it was a white or 2 to go, but just went with that. And yeah, I kind of got away with it mid-race there. I was yelling and swearing at my wheel again because we just the first 20 laps you had to just kind of, Cam was dealing with the same problem because, if you set up for the top, you're going to be tighter. And as soon as we'd get back on the throttle out of like turn 2, we would just push like a dump truck. So you really have to wrestle the race car those first 20 laps. And I was like, all right, I need a yellow. Not only to catch myself back up to Cam, I felt like we were making decent pace. I got into one lap car. I just completely misjudged it. Oh, Jesus. Sorry, just turned my music on and killed my ears. But yeah, after that, we got that yellow, and I was like, all right, the wheel kind of gains a little more force feedback under yellow when you're not tearing at it so much. So, you felt all right. We were like, all right, we know we're going 1 and 2. We were just looking around, trying to figure out how we could pass them, and saw where the grip was. Like, all right, gotta try at least once. Can't just follow them, and ended up paying off.
And now it's back-to-back victories as well. How do you look to carry this momentum forward for the closing stages? Because you have Lanier next, then you have the Bristol Motor Speedway, and then, of course, the 410 Classic coming up in July in Knoxville.
I hope we can run Lanier. I have to look at schedule. But I'd love to run Lanier. I haven't ran Lanier in a while. Same with Kokomo. I haven't ran in a while before tonight. Scam, I can server up. You just kind of make sure you're like, all right, this still works. There was that weird pre-jang again in turn 1 on the reset tracks. It's like it only happens on half the tracks. So I didn't think the top was going to be as good as it was once we did get up there. But hopefully you can run Lanier feeling good. Bristol, I couldn't care less about Bristol, honestly. But then for sure, looking forward at Knoxville. We've been running good there for the last race of the season. But yeah, it's kind of turned into the me and Cam show here, and just hoping we can just keep putting shows on like this. I don't mind finishing second to him. Honestly, I think I said it earlier this week in a live stream. He's probably the best sprint car driver in the game right now. So, just to be hanging with him, can't hang our heads about that.
Anyone you want to thank for your run tonight, David?
Yeah, this one was for Joel Berkeley. He was supposed to come out and race, but couldn't. So I was like, all right, well, gonna have to go win for him then. So that's for me mate down there. Check out houseofspeed.us setups. Got 25% sale coming this weekend. Use discount code 2TO GO. That'll be running this weekend for 25% off all setup packs there at House of Speed. And then, of course, under that yellow too, my YouTube, my recording, I ran out of space or something on my computer. But check out my YouTube channel, IMD33. I upload all these races. Thanks for Brody putting this league on, and then you guys at Podium for broadcasting and Total Ohio Maniacs out there.
Congratulations on the victory tonight.
Thanks, JP.
David Holloman coming away with the victory by about 1/10 of a second over Cameron Merriman. And Cameron Merriman standing by with Devin Henry. And very interesting on some of the words brought in by the Highway Maniac. In fact, Devin, a lot of praise headed towards his direction.
Absolutely. But first and foremost, Cameron, take me through that last restart. I know that wasn't at all what you were hoping to get there after dominating this race.
Yeah, that one's tough. It's really challenging because we had a track reset during warm-up where we get to run it in from a fresh track state. And we've had this issue recently where in iRacing, when it renders the track when we grid for the feature, sometimes it won't properly load the wear that carried over from warm-up. So what we actually had this race, I don't know if you guys caught it up in the broadcast booth, but there was a gigantic patch of really slick track on the entrance to 1. And what that served to do was kind of prohibit, running up top in 1 and 2 for quite a large portion of the race. And then especially at the end, you really had to babyfoot the car up there, and it wasn't actually natural, so there was a really good line through the middle. And so I got caught defending there on a final restart with like a couple laps to go, and David was able to just barely sneak, kind of park himself on the nose of my car down the backstretch. And from there, with the track state the way it was, there just wasn't enough speed for me to make a move. I certainly could have, thrown something, but it's doubtful that it would have stuck. And the way the Kokomo races, it's very likely would have been taken out. So I had to kind of pin my hopes on carrying solid momentum through 3 and 4 and maybe making a final contest at the flag stand. But the flag stand Kokomo is really close to the exit 4, so that was kind of a long shot. So all that together, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. But hats off to David. He was probably the faster car at the end, but clearly, you know, the challenge is getting by the guy, and he was able to make it. So all around a good race.
Well, nonetheless, it is impossible to doubt that you had quite a bit of speed throughout this whole race, and really the only guy who was able to get through that lap traffic once we had it. What was the key to finding that speed on the outside? It really looked like some of the guys on the bottom were kicking up dirt to that outside and kind of keeping the moisture with the marbles over the slick stuff there for a while before those final cautions.
Yeah, in general, that's probably the case. Like I said, though, there was underneath of those marbles was just a giant patch of almost ice on the entry to one. So the key there is just being really patient with the car. And obviously, you know, some of the larger tracks, you can get away with being rather lax on the setup. But here, if you have a particular driving style, you really have to tune in the car to work with you. And so I think that I have worked a lot to kind of build an exotic setup that works really well for me here. I was kind of hoping that we'd end up with a better track than we had, but that's just kind of the way it goes. That's racing. But solid pace throughout, and then at the end, I just got snookered there by David on a good move from him. That's kind of my synopsis.
Well, Cameron, I know that you wanted one more spot, but you still get to take home the $50. Who do you have to thank for allowing you to come on over here, pick up a second place finish here at Kokomo?
Yeah, man, I'd just like to thank Brody and everyone who puts on this series, and you guys up in the broadcast booth. This is a phenomenal series that comes on every Wednesday night. I'm always looking forward to it. So definitely my pleasure is absolutely due to your guys' efforts and Brody too putting this thing on. So hats off to you guys. Really appreciate you guys having me on. So thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys putting on a show at Kokomo. Cameron Merriman, your second place driver here at Indiana's baddest bull ring. Thanks, Cameron. All right, now, Jacob, time to catch up with our third place finisher, Garrett Holsey, taking home P3.
Tell you what, you were able to hang on to that third spot. Cautions somewhat fell your way there late in the going because you had Austin Selman breathing down your neck for the last couple of laps. Talk about it.
I almost didn't want those cautions to come out. I think for a while there, well, actually, no, I'd take that back. I think after that really long green flag run there, I was able to take a deep breath and be able to analyze the racetrack a little bit and being able to adjust. So yeah, I would say that those cautions fell my way there. But I think once we got down towards the end there, I don't think I wanted any more cautions.
You were riding that high side there in the last half of that race, getting sometimes a little too close to the wall, and that will allow Selman to reel you in just a little bit. But he really struggled to get by you there late in the going with those cautions. I
think just because the track is so tough to race. I mean, like, I know the broadcast doesn't do it justice, but this track, the Kokomo, just 410 sprint cars, the track is really tough. So as long as you can just find something that kind of works or you feel comfortable with, even if that means knocking the wall down every lap, you're going to be okay. But I mean, I don't know. I think in those last few laps, I had the top, somewhat figured out, but I think the bottom was starting to become strong. Because I think a few more laps, I think Simmelman would have gotten by me. But just to beat a guy like Simmelman means I'm doing all right.
And before we send you on your way, anybody you want to thank, say hi to?
Yeah, definitely got to thank Lightning Sim Racing and ProGrade Graphics, Tops Up Earbud Quality Threads, EMI, RacingBoys.com, Tops Up Earbud Quality Threads, just all those guys. Thanks for supporting this race car and looking for some more better results.
Garrett Halsey with the third place finish here tonight from Kokomo. And Devin, we made it through almost the entire broadcast without anybody dropping a Beach Boys joke. That's about as good as I can make it, so there you go.
My only thing is that the Beach Boys song is not in Indiana. If any joke should be done, I mean, it should be the fact that there's a Coca-Cola bottling center, actually rendered in the sim, right next door. I never hear any jokes about Coca-Cola or it even mentioned, but nonetheless, glad to have everyone here. David Howland taking it to virtual BC Victory Lane at Kokomo Speedway. They brought the intensity today, and we're going to have plenty more intensity here on Podium Esports this next week. The eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series heading to Charlotte tomorrow, 9 Eastern on the Podium Esports Twitch account, our main Twitch page. And then it's going to be the next edition of the hashtag NextGen Fast Friday, presented by McConey Setup Shop. They are going to the 2 Mile Auto Club Speedway, 9:30 Eastern Friday night, also on the Podium Esports account. Then back on Sunday for the elimination race of the round of 12 for the MPI Cup Series. That will be on Sunday, 9:15 Eastern, Podium Main. And then right back here on Podium 2, Monday Night Racing with their Indianapolis 500 kilometers. See names like Kyle Busch, Ron Capps, Chad Reed, Ryan Vargas, and even today's one of the competitors. I'm not going to spoil anything. He did a good job. It was James Davidson. He might just be at Indianapolis as well on Monday Night Racing. The eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series heads to Charlotte next Tuesday at 8:30 Eastern on the iRacing Twitch page. The PCA Sim Racing Group is back for Mid-Ohio. That will be on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on their YouTube page. And hey, if you like to watch that, then when they're going on, you can either come to Twitch as well or switch on over at 9 Eastern, because we're right back here going to the dirt track version of Lanier next Wednesday, 9 Eastern, right here on Podium 2. Well, Jacob, they sure brought the intensity. They sure brought some of the wild side of them, but man, they sure put on a show there at the end of that race.
That was darn fun to watch. And I tell you what, the move by David Heilman to win that race, I haven't been that excited and like almost jumping up and down in my chair. I don't even know since how long, maybe since the Eagles won the big game a couple years ago. But let me tell you, this was a blast to watch, you know, because it looked like Merriman had it all locked up, and then David Heilman comes in and steals the show right at the end. It's what everybody wants every race to be like, with two guys slugging it out at the end and an unpredictable winner, and we kind of got that here tonight.
Boy, it was a fun one. Glad to have everyone along with us tonight here on Podium Esports. For Brody Wilhelm at the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series, for Ryan Bauer, James Pike, Cisco Scarmuza, Gary Sexton, and John Theater at Podium Esports, and of course for Jacob Hitz and also Justin Prince running the show on the microphone. Oh yeah, and the guy who runs the show behind the scenes, Mr. Zach Johnson himself. I am Devin Henry. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast, and we hope to see you next week, same time, same place, from the dirt track at Lanier.